Hey, this is Brooks with Character Design Forge. Let's make a comic. Number 3. Let's keep making a comic. Quick thing at the outset is that I've been streaming at twitch.tv/bageldenizen on Monday afternoons and some other little impromptu breaks in between, so go over and follow me there. I would say it at the end of the video, like I usually do, and I have been. But apparently people don't watch to the end of the video and don't know that I've been streaming on Twitch for a while. That's okay. Just go do that. So at this point in the creation of our Parcel comic, I've done all of the steps in our last video, which was the layout, the sketching. I've done things like figure out how all of the pages are organized, how things go on the page, some simple sketches, some things like composition, figuring out the composition, where the text goes, things like that. At this point, I know that there's about 21 or 22 pages total in this story. So now it's time to go back and page by page, render out how the page will finally look. I've always been a big believer in improving through projects, by which I mean using that final product, that final project as a goal point, an incentive to get better. And so maybe looking at where in your skills you are, figuring out what things you need to improve in order to accomplish that thing. Now, over a year ago, I made a hypothetical first page of a Parcel comic in a video where I laid out and created a comic page from start to finish in Photoshop. Now, the thing is that that page looks a lot like the new first page of the Parcel comic as far as story and whatnot, even though I didn't really know where I was going with the story back then. Now, I like to think that I've improved a lot as an artist since then, so in redrawing the new page for the final comic, not only am I redrawing it as a better artist, but I'm also changing up the rendering style. For the longest time, my approach with rendering comics was the traditional one, penciling, then adding inks, then adding color to those inks, and then shading those colors. But I found both in my own personal ability and just in general, that style, the way that that ended up looking, wasn't quite where my artistic voice was, and it didn't look exactly the way that I wanted it to. So the rendering that I'm approaching this Parcel comic with is a lineless one. So instead of inks and lines, I'm using shapes of color to define the overall look of the page, and then rendering from there. The key important thing that I need to keep in mind as I'm rendering this comic is that I no longer have lines to act as a barrier or a way to define things or differentiate, say, the character from the background. And if you're not careful, the character could blend right into the background. Now, in order to combat this, I need to have a strong understanding of both the color choices that I'm making and the value of those colors. Those are both things that I talked about recently in my video about color. These are all things that are supposed to establish clarity in the image and overall contribute to readability for the person who's reading the comic. I got all the way through a finished render of this first page, which was also doubling as a sort of test for this rendering style, when I realized that there was something about the character I needed to change. Now, I mentioned earlier how I love to use projects as a way to improve, and this Parcel character and the story that goes with her has always been a way for me to improve the way that I draw people and human characters, and that's why you've seen so many changes and iterations on the character. It's all my skills progressing and getting better over time. So I realized that the sort of cartoonish look of the character was fine before, but now seeing her in the comic, I realized with my updated and improved sense of drawing anatomy, it wouldn't cut it the way she was. So I went back, added a more defined skull to the character, and just did some tweaks on the anatomy that I thought looked better and would contribute to better acting and expression for her throughout the rest of the comic. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the improvement on this version of the page versus that attempt I showed you from over a year ago, but I'm by no means done when it comes to this comic. I still have a good 20 pages of rendering to do, and that's a fairly large amount of work. So I'm going to come back at you guys in a 4th installment where hopefully we'll be wrapping up this comic and getting it ready for you guys to read. That's it for me today. I'm making new videos every week at Character Design Forge. Subscribing on YouTube lets you know when new videos are made available. On Instagram, Twitch, and Twitter, my username's the same. It's BagelDenizen. Go follow me there if you'd like to. My course Learn Character Design is a comprehensive character design curriculum. You can go to learncharacterdesign.com to learn more. It's over 10 hours of video learning. And if you'd like to support me and support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/BagelDenizen and get a whole bunch of benefits. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating.